Guys, welcome back to your girl's channel. Welcome back to Lonnie's Beauty. Okay, we are back with another video. Okay, in today's video we are going to be doing makeup for beginners. So this is going to be a tutorial doing like a natural beat but for beginners. And we're doing a full face. So a full face of makeup for beginners. Okay, so we're gonna break it down today in today's video. Okay, so first things first is we're gonna be going in with eyebrows, and the best advice I could give for a beginner on doing your eyebrows is however your eyebrows are, if you get them shaped, if you get them plucked, whatever you do, the best thing to do is start with your shape, and you want to go in with a pencil because I think it's a little bit easier to navigate. That's just my thing. I think it's a little bit easier. It's so interesting because if it was like back in like 2018, I would have said going with a pomade because it's a little bit easier to navigate because of the brush, the angled brush, so you're like able to draw it on. But I take that, I wouldn't say that now because the pomade, you could be too heavy-handed and end up with those 2016 brows. So, you know, and usually beginners, like they're trying to navigate like how heavy, how light to go. So that's why I would say start off with a pencil, and you want to get like a creamy pencil. The Anastasia, I know I have it. Yes, this one. The Anastasia Brow Definer is a good one if you want to go with that one. But I kind of use that one like when I'm traveling. My favorite one is the Lawless. This one is so creamy. I love it. So, and this is like probably like my 5th pencil. I go through these like crazy, but they do offer a lot of products. Like I've had this one for a while, and like this is how much product is left. Yeah, we're just gonna go in and fill your brows. Stick to your natural shape and your arch. And while you're filling in your brows, the only thing you're really doing is just filling in the gaps where there's not a lot of hair. If you have light eyebrow hair like me, you're literally just filling in the gaps. If you were a victim of over plucking from like the early 2000s brow, again, you're just extending or filling in. And it should look like something like this. Obviously, blend it how you want. But for me, this is how I like my brow. So it might look crazy right now, but believe me, it's gonna all come together. I'm not a fan of the laminated feather brow. Not a fan for me. I like the 2016 brow, but just not so heavy, like that pomade look. But I do like that brow. So I'm going to stick beside it. Okay? So keep that in mind if you're a beginner. For people that are beginners, like I get it. Sometimes when people are like, oh, it's 2025, we're about to be in 2026, how do you still not know how to do your own makeup? Look, like, I get it. It can be daunting or whatever, but now is as a perfect time to ever start, if any, you know, to learn how to. It doesn't matter if it's drugstore. You can literally achieve a full beat that looks just as good as with like high-end stuff. You can mix match high-end stuff. Like I'm gonna go in, so it doesn't really matter like what kind of products you use. Like a lot of the time when I'm doing my own makeup, I go in with some high-end stuff and then some like drugstore stuff. It honestly doesn't matter. You're gonna achieve the same result. Some stuff is a little bit better. Like I think if anything, I would personally invest in like, I guess like your brushes, and then a good concealer, a good powder, and a good foundation. I think those 3 things are probably like the coup de grace to invest in, because The foundation, regardless of how your skin looks, I think depending on how it lays and stuff like that, it can make it look real skin-like and look natural. Your concealer, obviously, making sure that it's an actually good concealer that offers that coverage. And then, like I said, your powder, because that's setting your face if you're for baking, whatever. So that's going to hold everything in place. So I think, and then your brushes. I think those are like the top products for me that I would invest in. Everything else, you can kind of work around, to be honest. That's just me. So now we're going in with our Born This Way concealer. And we're going to just highlight underneath the brow bone. Now, I don't highlight over on top because it does defeat the purpose of highlighting the top of the brow with concealer, because now the purpose of highlighting the brow in the first place is to lift the arch, right? And to highlight the underbone to make the brow appear lifted, right? That's why you even see, like, if you watch the old, like, MAC videos, like, in the 90s and stuff like that, or just, like, 90s makeup artists and stuff like that, they used to use, like, the white eyebrow powder underneath to highlight that brow bone to lift, to make it appear lifted. If you do want to shape the top of your brow to make it look more clean, then all you need to do is use a foundation, just a little bit, and then just clean that up, okay? So essentially, we're just taking this. And that's how it's looking. So once you kind of achieve the look that you want after you clean up, you go ahead and do that other brow. I feel like what makes this also look like more natural, and because I remember I said I do like the 2016 brow, but because I'm not really cleaning up the top, it's not perfect. Like, the brow is not perfect. Because remember, that 2016 brow used to be so perfect, it could cut someone. Then we're going to go ahead and you can use whatever type of brush that you want to use personally. But if you are going to do eyeshadow, you just want to blend the concealer down anyways. So I'm going to take like a brush kind of like this. I don't know if you guys remember like those, you guys see it? Those, like the big like powder brushes, like these, like the big foundation ones that used to be popular. But then we're just gonna go ahead and blend this down. And I forgot to mention that your concealer for under your brows, you probably want to stick with a shade that's one shade lighter than you. And the reason why I say that is just because you want it to like kind of look natural. Like, I feel like there's debate for this, but at least underneath your eyebrow, you want it to like one shade to like a 2 shades lighter, honestly. Like, cause I really just say one shade, but you want it to like kind of look natural. You don't want it to look like completely like, oh, you know, because you're blending this in. If anything, I think that just underneath your eyes, you could do like to get away with like the 2 shades lighter and stuff like that for the highlighting purposes. But again, for like my beginners and stuff like that, sticking to 1 to 2 shades lighter, like that's like the best range for you. And knowing the shade for you, you know, because like this is like getting into like the science of it, but I'm like a neutral undertone beginner. You want to like pay attention to the shade ranges and undertones and trying to figure out what your undertone is. It can be very tricky. I kind of go off like my veins, like if I can see my veins, if they're like a green, bluish, or whatever the case is. I know it's different for other people, but I kind of go off that, or like choosing like my undertone. So I know that if I pick an undertone that has too much like yellows in it, it's not gonna look good with my skin. It's gonna actually kind of look crazy. And then if I go with something that's like too much like pinky undertones, it's gonna look gray and cast me out. So I have to find something that's really like in the middle for me. So I'm more so of like a neutral undertone. So like this color, for example, is warm beige. So the undertone is literally like the right mix of like your yellows and your pinks. So it pretty much like cancels out like any like greenness that I have on my face, or like, you know. But yeah, so picking out your right undertones really does help with that process as well. So now we're going to be going in with our color correcting. If this isn't a step that you need to do, then feel free to skip it. But me, I just go in to color correct any darkness that I have around my eyes. And it cancels it out. So any darkness that I have like around my eyes, I just like put a little bit of that color corrector on just to cancel anything out. I'm just taking a dense brush and then I'm just blending that in. And especially being like a woman of color, I know like for the girlies also, brown skin black women that are watching my videos, I know like I said, like our skin color kind of like changes through summer months and then when in the cooler winter months. So like I said, you're not always going to be like the same shade year round. Like I am like, my skin varies, like I fall into like a light skin category, but when the winter months fall upon us, I don't want to say like I go to like fair skin, like my skin lightens that much, but it's like it's like fair but like gray, if that makes sense. That's a crazy description, but it's like fair and it's like almost like a grayish type. And it's just like, so that's what I'm like finding, like trying to like, you know, navigate that is very important for your undertones. And that's why I said, like, especially in the cooler months, for me to go with like a concealer that's too yellow is crazy. Now I use this as like my one shade lighter that's like kind of like sticks to my skin color, like 1 to 2 shades. But when I'm going into highlight, I go in with this color from Huda Beauty. It's like this shade, cookie dough, and it's like a neutral like creamy shade, but it's perfect for my skin color from when I'm highlighting because it matches my tones, right? So now I go in with that shade, that Huda Beauty one, to highlight. But before I go in with that shade, I go in with this shade, the Too Faced one, warm beige. And any points that you just want to highlight, that you want to bring light to your face, that's what you're going to do. Because you have to remember, all highlighting is, you're just bringing areas where you want the light to draw to your face. But always like the side part of your face is the shadows, where the shadows are going to hit, and then the inner, so this, your nose, your forehead, your chin, that's where like it's going to draw light. So now there is a difference between bronzing and then there's a difference between contouring. So I'll show you. This is my bronzing stick, the Makeup by Mario. You can see that's the bronzing stick. And then this is my contour stick, and this is Dior, and you can see it's a very cool tone. So what I like to do is I like to underpaint. So I'll go in with my concealer, my contour, and then a little bit of bronzer and blush, and then I'll go ahead and put my foundation on top of it. I forget whose the makeup artist's technique that does this, but ever since I found that technique, I've been obsessed with it. So I always underpaint. It just looks more natural and it feels less cakey. And for honestly, for anyone that does makeup, I recommend this technique just because, like, when they're like, oh my gosh, like, I don't like the cakey feel, this technique, it doesn't feel cakey at all to me. So you go ahead and you see you're just putting your contour in that spot where you have like the natural cheek hollows, and you're going to do that on the other side. And the difference between contour and bronzer, if you aren't aware, is that, like I said before, the contour is just adding the shadow and the depth to your face, whereas the bronzer is just bringing warmth to your face to look like you had like that sun-kissed look. I do like the contour look a little bit better. I do add the bronzer just so that I'm not like too, you know, so I'm not like giving freaking Twilight, but I do prefer a more contoured snatch look than bronze. I think bronze is cute for like the summer months. So now I'm gonna go in with this Morphe brush. It's the M103 brush. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna blend this out. And then how you wanna blend out, you wanna keep the product in its space and just like dap circular motions to blend. Okay? It doesn't really matter how messy it gets if the product moves either, because you have to remember too, you're gonna be applying the foundation on top of this. But try to keep the product in the same spot as you can. And I should have said this before, but I low-key forgot. I've been doing my makeup for years now, but for a person that's new to this, don't do what I did and just go in with it. You're better off going with the brush, going product to brush. And if you feel like it's too much on the product, then just dap on your hands and then go ahead and do it. It's better to start off light than to start off heavy, because if it's too heavy, then there's like no coming back from that. It's like you basically have to start over again. But yeah, guys, I love doing my makeup. It's just so peaceful. I started doing my own makeup in college. Well, I started before that, but really when I went off to college, like I started working like over the summer months and stuff like that. I was able to have enough money to start, you know, getting my own makeup products and stuff like that. So that's when like I really started learning how to do like my own makeup. Like, I don't know if you guys remember that. Obviously you probably do, LA Girl or whatever. I remember like my friends, because I live in the suburbs, so there really are no beauty supply stores near me. They are like hours away, and it's like a hike to travel to them. So like unless like I'm going over to like my grandma's house or whatever the case is, and like I'm seeing my cousin or something, she'll bring me with her. But other than that, like I'm not really, unless I'm just ordering online or something, but I'm not going to the beauty supply store like that. But I will say that in college, my college friends that lived in the inner city of Chicago, they were nice enough one time when she knew she was going to the beauty supply store. She ended up bringing me the LA Girl concealer, because this is back when I think it was only in the beauty supply, before like it was like in Ulta, and they carried it, and like even CVS, because the store that I used to go to, like the CVS and Walgreens, they didn't carry it. And she was nice enough to bring me back two LA Girl concealers, like one my shade, like a shade lighter, and then the other one was like a like a highlighting shade, and she brought it back for me, and I was like, oh, that was so nice. And like once she brought those concealers back, I feel like that really started to change up my makeup game. And it started to make a little bit more sense. I feel like, when was it? My sophomore year of college. That's like really when I learned like the makeup started makeuping, because I was like, every single time we were going out to like a party or something, I was always doing makeup. I was always putting it on every single time we were going out to do something. If I was bored in my dorm, I had nothing to do, like I wasn't hanging out with friends or whatever the case is, I was in my dorm practicing doing my makeup. And I think I still have those pictures from like saved from my old phone. I would have to find those. But yes, girl. And they also introduced me to weave too, because when I tell you I'm a true suburban girl, I went to a PWS. That's like what I grew up around, and that's like where I was always in for schooling. And then finally when I went to college, it was like, you know, integrated with a bunch of different like international kids, like different community and more people that looked like me. You know, I wanted to branch off and make more friends and stuff like that. And like, you know, people I can relate to. So I did, and they introduced me, like I love some of the, like I still love them to this day. Like they introduced me to like, you know, extensions and all that type of stuff, because before then I just used to like wear my own hair. I mean, I still wear my own hair, like, you know, but I do love the drama. Now, you've noticed I haven't touched my concealer, right? I've been allowing it to stay in place and dry. So it should almost be ready for us. But before we go ahead and do that, I'm just going to go in with this bronzing stick and just dab a little bit, just because this is like a Makeup by Mario stuff is like very creamy and pigmented. So that Dior contour stick as well, if you're like the same like skin color as me too, like same like skin range or whatever, and you're looking for a good contour stick, that Dior one, it is pricey, but I have to say it's so creamy and it blends out so nice. But yeah, just to bring a little warmth to the face, you just tap and just keep that on the outer perimeter. And then also, when I'm going in to, depending on how big your forehead is, I pretty much just focus like bronzer or contour like on the sides of the temples. I don't go all over the head. I think that it just kind of like it frames the head, makes it look a little bit more feminine, you know? We're just focusing that on the edges. Bronzer, we are going to start now blending out this blending out our concealer. So you're just gonna take something dense like this. This is the M132, and like I said, okay, how I said at the beginning, invest in your brushes. Your brushes don't have to be super expensive, because I have not pulled out one super expensive brush as of yet, right? All I've been pulling out is like Morphe brushes, and like yeah, pretty much like all of these brushes are like different Morphe collection brushes that I've purchased, and they're inexpensive. So, and Morphe is like good for brushes, especially like for beginners, intermediate, or even advanced. Like you can like step your brush game up as you go along, but I'm still getting what I need to do and get in achieving the results with these brushes, but just having decent pair of brushes, like, you know. So because we're going under eyes and we want the product to stay in place, that's why I said why I've been yapping and doing other things on my face. You want it to dry down. if you move fast and you're not talking or whatever the case is, take yourself a fan to dry it down. But you want your concealer to be dried down before you even go and touch it, okay? So you're just taking, again, like a dense brush, and you're not starting here. You're starting on the edges, and you're working that. And you see how, like, the product is, like, how it's, like, barely budging? That's how you want it. Where it's like, oh, that's full coverage. Even though this is a really good concealer, this is, like, a great concealer. This is one of my favorites. This is always, like, a chef's kiss. You're gonna have to play around with what concealer works for you, to be honest. You know? That's the thing. If you're a newbie and you're, like, looking for concealer, these two are my holy grails. That's what I'll say. I don't care for, what's that concealer called? Not House Labs. Oh my gosh, what's the Hourglass? I don't care for Hourglass. I tried Hourglass before. I did not have a good experience with the Hourglass concealer. I don't know, maybe I didn't use it right or something, but I didn't have a good experience with Hourglass. Anytime that I would try to, like, blend it, it wasn't even, like, peeling. It just was, like, not even, like, separating. I don't even know how to explain it. It wasn't working for me, which was kind of unfortunate because I really wanted to, like that concealer a lot. Now, Hourglass brushes, though, those brushes or something. And, like, the powders and stuff like that. But the concealer, for some reason, I just couldn't get jiggy with it. But, okay. And then we're going to, you can just blend out wherever else you had concealer. You just don't want it to grow and get big. Now we're going in for my favorite parts, okay? We're going in with blush. This is the Makeup by Mario Dusty Rose. Oh my gosh, I'm almost done with this, but don't worry. I have another one on standby. I love this blush. I love this color. I love this color. I'm a true Dusty Rose gal. I love, like, my mauve types of blushes. So, we're looking crazy right now, but have no fear. It's all coming together. Okay? So, before, like, how I said, like, oh, you could, like, just draw it on your face. For this part, because it depends on how you want your blush. Unless you're going for, like, a Painted by Esther look or whatever type of look you're going for. How heavy, how light. Depends. So, I just go on, take the blush. You see, it's already very pigmented. So, I just go, and then you're placing your blush in between the contour and the bronzer and the concealer. Right in that middle area, okay? You're taking that, and then you're building. You want to marry the two. And my thing, too, is, I guess, like, it kind of, color theory in a way, it kind of, like, plays a big part in this. Like, what makes people's makeup look so good is, like, knowing what colors go for you. Because, for me, it depends. Like, I feel like everybody can find, like, their type of pink, but there's different levels to it. You might not be a hot pink. You might be a mauve pink. You might not be a mauve pink. You might be like a deep red pink or something like that, or like a red or whatever. You have to know what kind of, like, what colors, like, go for you. And it's all about, what's it called? It's all about, you know, testing. And I like heavy blush, so if you don't, apply less than this. But, you know, whatever you like, you like. Again, you're going here. If you're a girl and you like light blush, this is probably where you would want to stop. If you like a little bit more heavy blush, you just keep going. You know? Oh my gosh, I already ended. And you're probably like, oh my gosh, like, I look crazy right now. And you're probably thinking like, oh my gosh, I look crazy. And it's like, yeah, girl, you do look crazy. But what you have to always remember is you're always going to look crazy before you start looking good. Okay. Now that we've done that, we're going in with foundation. Now, remember I said what to invest in, right? Different preferences on what they like, what they don't like. I think that if I could recommend any foundation, you're like, you don't know what kind of foundation to get. You're like, I really don't know. I don't know like what foundation like fits for me or whatever the case is. If you're a girl, this really kind of applies to people that have like medium, that have normal to dry skin. These are two foundations that I would recommend to any beginner. Luminous Silk by Giorgio Armani, or this Estee Lauder one, Double Wear. This one was so, I tried it and I was like, oh my gosh, like that foundation, it does its thing. But my holy grail is this Giorgio Armani. So you're just gonna like literally just dabble like a couple of drops and then just take a dense brush like this and even the product out all over the hand, unless you have like one of those like makeup thingies. But you just want to make sure that all the product is evenly placed on this brush. That's the sole purpose for doing that, because you don't want to do it like on your face. Like I said, the key for the natural looking makeup for a full face, for people to be like, oh my gosh, like it looks like it's makeup. Obviously we can tell it's makeup, but it's makeup but your skin but better. These are the steps, okay? So now you take that once it's blended all through, and you're gonna go ahead and just blend it. Place it over. Kind of avoid the under eyes because you don't want to layer too much product. Like you already have product on there from the concealer. So avoid the under eyes because like I said, we don't want it to be too cakey. We already have the color corrector, and then on top of color corrector, we have concealer. So try to stay away from that. Now also, depends on what type of person that you are. If you like high coverage, you can keep going on with this. This is buildable. I don't care for full coverage, to be honest. I don't have skin issues. Like I don't suffer from acne and stuff like that. So that to me, I don't care. If anything, I like to see like my freckles coming through, or like my beauty marks and stuff like that. So I don't care for like having full coverage. Like I said, I want my makeup to still look like my skin, but just, you know, more flawless. Although I have makeup on, you know, just like I said, your skin, but better. Face should be looking. Okay, blender, and don't mind mine being dirty, I have to clean it. You're just going to dab everywhere. and you're removing any extra product. Because that's what the Beauty Blender does. That's the sole purpose of it. It just removes extra product. That's why I personally don't like using it for blending my under eyes. Everybody has their own preference. Do what you want to do, but it's a sponge. This is a sponge. This is a sponge. That's all it is. It literally removes like excess. So it soaks that in. So that's why I like to use it after I use my brushes. I think that's a really good tip, is to use these after you blend everything with your brushes. My Huda Beauty brightening shade for concealing. And this is a little bit more watery than the Too Faced one. I'm just taking this and just a little bit of dab, because we're just bright to dry. Going with my fan to dry this down a little bit. Our dense brush. You're just gonna focus this shade in the inner, because all you're doing is just brightening that. And like I said before, you can go in with a shade that's even like brighter than this. I kind of like a natural look. I don't like it to be too bright. That's just me. But whatever floats your boat. Again, you know, everything's up to preference and your discretion. So whatever you like, you like. And that's how it's looking so far. So you see how it's bright in those corners. So then we're gonna go in with our Max Plus Fix Spray. It doesn't have to be Max Fix Plus. It doesn't have to be this. It could be the Milani Long Lasting. It could be anything of your choice. It could be NYX, their spray. All this is doing is we're just spraying all of our creams to set our creams, okay? And this is an important step. So as long as it's like a liquid spray like this, okay? That's all we're doing. This, you don't need to take a fan to dry down. Just let it dry down on its own. So now we're gonna get our powders out. I just got like a magnetized palette, and this is from ColourPop, but these shades aren't from ColourPop. So these are just miscellaneous shadows, obviously, that I have. Just I didn't have anywhere to put them in, so I just like had extra space for the single shadow. Just put them here. But as far as my contour shades, these two are Makeup Forever. I put them here. This one is ColourPop. This is a bronzer shade. These two are Anastasia Beauty. Obviously, I like this one a lot. If it's not clear to tell, I hit pan on it. And I believe it's discontinued, so I don't believe I will be ever getting that one back. So, also, I told you guys that I kind of switched between drugstore and high-end, right? So, you have two good powders here. You have your Airspun or you have your Huda Beauty powder. I am obsessed with this one. I feel like this one, with the concealer combos that I gave you, the Huda Beauty one and the Too Faced one, this powder is going to do wonders with this. This is also an extremely good powder. I just started using this again, like maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago, and I forgot how good this was. I was like, I'm obsessed with this. This is so good. Another good powder, one size fit all, very, very good. Makes it like everything's blurred underneath. Ben Nye, another good one that's drugstore. So it doesn't have to be high end always. I'm gonna keep preaching this over and over again, because a lot of people will try to be like, oh no, it needs to be high end, or no, it doesn't. You know, whatever works for your makeup works for your makeup. I feel like there's certain things to invest in, and certain things to invest in, and then other stuff, it's like you can like work your way around it. So you're going in, I'm going with the Huda Beauty one today. This one's in Blondie. I don't know if it shows up a little bit more yellow, but this one is like, again, it's like a neutral, okay? So I go in with this, and it looks like that. All you're gonna do is tap, 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 tap. So it looks like that, and you start smoothing all that powder in. Because we don't want to waste any of that. You just want to tap, tap, and then smooth. So it looks like that, you know? So now all that powder's in that sponge, okay? Now, after you did that, you're going to take your beauty blender again. We're going to get off any excess product, okay? We're taking all this shine away. So you're going to take your beauty blender and under the eyes we go. You can go ahead and set the rest of your face with the rest of whatever's left on the, what's it called? The powder puff. We're going in with our Anastasia shade, these ones. I'm going to dip also a little bit into this Makeup Forever contour shade. And I'm just going to start blending that in. Brush wise, you want a tapered brush, something like this, basically where you can focus it in the hollows. We're just taking our face from being flat to bringing dimension back into it now. A bit of the bronzer too. Just a little, because this shade is kind of like dark. And we're going to start just applying that bronzing too to bring some warmth into our face. A little bit of that sun-kissed look like I mentioned before. This shade right here, and I'm just going to take a brush like this and I don't get too fancy with the nose contouring, like I said. I like to like stick with like a mauve blush, so I'm gonna go in with something like that and then just kind of like sweep it on. But I like a lot of blush again, so do whatever you feel is enough for you. But the only thing that you should be taking from this part is, again, we're just keeping it in between that bronzer, contour, blush, and then concealer. So that blush should be in the middle of that. And the technique to really apply it is like a tapping motion, like that. Part one of our blush looking. Super cute. I love the NARS. I think I'm gonna go in with maybe these two shades. again, a nice little mix between drugstore and high-end, you know? So ColourPop and the NARS. You saw how nice the ColourPop looks. So ColourPop's always like, oh, it's such a good brand. Like I remember when I got that, when I first started getting some of their products back when I was in college, I was like, oh, so good, so good. So that's how the blush is looking. We're just going to add a little bit of this Ravishing Rose. This is like such, again, another drugstore find. I found this at the drugstore at Walgreens. And let me tell you guys, I do my makeup. I do my makeup for myself. Let me start there. Let's start there. I do my makeup for myself. I don't do my makeup for anyone else. I do it for moi. So I'm like my biggest hype man. And I know after you've been doing your makeup for a while, like, you know it looks good for you. You know it looks nice and what doesn't look nice, right? I swear, I put this blush on every single time, baby. I go outside and always get compliments. Not only do I always get compliments on my skin, people are like, oh my gosh, when I do makeup, when my makeup is like this, they're like this. They're like, your skin. They're like, what foundation did you use? If I put foundation on, because let's not forget, sometimes I don't even wear foundation at all, okay? People be like, oh my gosh, what foundation did you use? I'm like, I'm not wearing foundation. But if I am, and they're like, what foundation did you use? 9 out of 10 times, it's that Giorgio Armani one. And they're like, I can tell. If they're like, what kind of blush are you wearing? 9 out of 10 times, it's going to be this one. But I do a combo. So this one usually is the one that goes on top. And why I do this one is because it has like flecks in it too that makes it look like I'm wearing highlighter. I don't really wear highlighter anymore, but this has like the little gold flecks in it. You see that? And then if you feel like you might have overdone off the blush, because I feel like I overdid it a little bit with that blush, and we're back, baby. Now, for finishing touches, go in with your finishing powder. So this is Charlotte Tilbury. What you're doing is just taking a big brush. And those are the finishing touches of that. If you're looking to snatch anything else up on your face, like you want a more snatched jawline, well, snatched cheekbones, take that powder again. I just like to go back in, press. And then that's all. You can do that on the other side. And you see that line stays right there. And that means that it did its job. I feel like next time I will do like a more in-depth tutorial on how to do this eye look. It's honestly just something quick, nude, that's all. So now I'm not going to do any eyeliner or anything else. So I'm putting on mascara at the end. So setting sprays again. You use the MAC Fix Plus one to set the creams. Now, to set the powders, we're going to use the Milk Hydro Grip Setting Spray. Now, this, if you get any other setting spray, definitely invest in this. I think the small bottle is $15. The large one is $35. This one is by far the best one. You have to shake it to mix everything. best setting spray that melts all the powders together. I do like the Charlotte Tilbury one. When I found this one and when this one hit the market, I was obsessed immediately. Just so you shake it and then you're going ahead and set your face. Now, unlike what I told you before, don't worry about using the fan. Use the fan to set this down. Friendly lip for you guys. So we're going in with Chestnut by MAC, obviously. And you're going to outline. I'm going with Plum. Plum is one of my favorite lip liners by MAC. I use this, like, it's almost a nub now. But I'm pretty sure I have another one on standby. Because we know MAC likes to discontinue their products. So, going in with Plum. And it's the transition shade for Chestnut. Cream de Nude for MAC. It looks something like this. It's when they came back out with the nudes, the Cream de Nude. I like to put that in the dab it in the center. Take a lip pencil, a lip brush, and just, you can blend it in like that. Okay, it looks good. Lastly, because we're not done, we don't stop there. Unless you like this lip look, then you can stop there. But we're going in with MAC Blankety, which is a pinky nude. And then layering that on top. And then you can like either, but just for more precision, I go in with my brush. Pretty much our final look. So I'm going to come together and show you the final look and everything with the hair down, but final look of with the hair and the makeup. I think it's like giving bombshell. This is the final finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one. My Lonnie Beauty crew.